NJIT is definitely fostering the innovative thinking for budding entrepreneurs, simply because that's the world we live in. NJIT is producing students that have been trained, educated, and given the business acumen to be a contributor to a company. The distinct mission is to develop great STEM scholars. The attributes I've always looked for in team members are heart, smarts, guts, and luck. So we want people with passion, intelligence, courage, and never discount luck. The student coming out of NJIT has experienced all of that.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
GEP, AI-powered cloud-native digital transformation. Hundreds of Fortune 500 and Global 2000 companies work with GEP to transform their procurement and supply chain operations. Why? GEP's unified digital platforms, smart, intuitive software that business users love, drive up adoption, user satisfaction, and productivity. GEP helps CIOs drive real digital transformation and achieve amazing results. GEP, helping the world's best companies do better.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Influential conversations from Bloomberg Television. Here's Heidi Stroud-Watts.
Let's discuss all of this and the prospects for markets. Orient Advisor Solutions Chief Investment Officer Rusty Vanneman is with us. Rusty, great to have you. Let's start off with oil first. Are we going to see a broader impact of just the turmoil that we're seeing? Because, of course, you know, May, you can call that the May contract a little bit of a technical blip, right, to the extreme. But we're already seeing that amount of volatility carry through to the June contract now as well. So at what point do we see a much bigger impact across all risk assets?
I mean, the moves, the markets each and every day seem to be surprising with some extraordinary volatility. And obviously what happened in the oil markets, the energy markets yesterday and today is just incredible. Obviously, it's a combination. We've already had oversupply. We've had oversupply for a while. That's why there's been pressure on the energy complex. Demand has plummeted, as we know. Gas demand is off 50%. We know airline travel is off 95%. It is definitely a concern for other risk assets. I am hopeful, and some of the things that I was looking at myself today is I was really worried the corporate bond market would get hit a lot harder. It didn't. I thought energy prices themselves would get hit a lot harder relative to other parts of the market. Obviously, they were down, but on a relative terms, they held up. I think those were encouraging signs.
Hear more interviews like this one on Bloomberg Television, streaming live on Bloomberg.com and on the Bloomberg mobile app, or check your local cable listings.
Markets, headlines and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on QuickTake by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg's world headquarters in New York City, I'm Anne-Marie Hodern with this Bloomberg Radio Business Flash. Good morning. U.S. futures advancing on the front foot. The S&P 500 mini contract up 1%. It comes after yesterday. The S&P closed down more than 3%. Stock 600 also higher, up 1% this morning. Getting a boost from technology and telecom shares this morning. I want to move over to the oil market because panic continues. The June contract, which just became the front month on WTI, trading at $11. Brent, though, suffering down nearly 10% this morning, $17.44 a barrel. Citi warned if global storage worsens more quickly, Brent crude could chase WTI down to the bottom, and we are seeing global storage really start to not exacerbate the situation right now. Pierre Andron told me yesterday, a renowned trader, said deep negative prices can be seen for a short while. In the FX market this morning, a bit of softer on the U.S. dollar. We are seeing a bit higher on the British pound against the U.S. dollar. Euro relatively flat, though, as well. And then in the U.S. Treasury market, we are seeing a lot of fluctuation on the 10-year yield below 0.6%. The yield right now, 0.5%. 0.59%. That's a Bloomberg Radio Business Flash. Now here's Leanne Garens with more on what's going on around the world. Good morning, Leanne.
Good morning, Anne-Marie, and thank you. An RAF plane carrying badly needed personal protective equipment for NHS staff, including 400,000 surgical gowns, has finally arrived here in the UK. It was due to be delivered on Sunday, but after delays, the Air Force sent a plane to Turkey to collect the equipment. House Secretary Matt Hancock says he's determined to get medical staff the safety protection they need. Now, the governor of Tokyo is considering new restrictions at supermarkets. Stores may be asked to limit the number of customers who can enter. Shoppers also may be told to keep their distance when lining up. Japan has avoided an explosive surge in coronavirus cases, but a steady rise in the last month forced the government to declare a state of emergency. Top officials at the World Health Organization are being targeted by hackers. That's as they work on the global response to the coronavirus pandemic. Security teams at the WHO have seen an increasing number of attempted cyber attacks on the officials since mid-March. Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has been a target. And Munich's famed Oktoberfest folk and beer festival has been cancelled for the first time since World War II. It's the latest major event to fall victim of the coronavirus outbreak and a blow to the Bavarian capital's economy. Germany has banned large public gatherings until at least the end of August. Yesterday, Germany reported the smallest increase in infections this month. Global News 24 hours a day on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Leanne Gerrans. This is Bloomberg.
This is the Brussels edition, Bloomberg's briefing on what matters most in the European Union this week.
Well, welcome to the special episode of the Brussels edition. I'm Maria Tadeo, and tomorrow European leaders will be headed into a crucial, potentially very heated summit. Emmanuel Macron, the French president, sees a moment of truth for the European Union. That may require breaking old dogmas around joint debt, but the question is, will Germany play ball? Now, joining me now, I'm happy to say, is Victor Costancio, the former vice president of the European Central Bank. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Maria.
Good morning. So my first question to you, really looking into the price action that we're seeing in the market, you've seen the BTP yields have climbed again. There's a lot of nerves on that market this week. Do you think that is ultimately pushing Italy closer to tapping into the ESM? There's a lot of debate on that.
Yes, there is a lot of debate, and it is, of course, for the Italian authorities to decide. It seems to me that the present conditions offered to the ESM loan make it not very attractive for basically two reasons. First, because it's very shortly renewed twice by 6 months only, and countries are paying quite small yields for such maturities. And the second reason is because then many countries will not use this facility because they are paying negative rates right now, and that means that it confirms the idea that the ESM is just for vulnerable countries, and then there is a certain degree of stigma and negative signaling to markets. But of course, the cost-benefit analysis of the proposal would be different if the credit conditions would involve a much longer maturity. That would change the offer. I consider really as less relevant the argument that one also hears that there is a legacy of harsh conditionality of the ESM. This credit line almost has no conditionality, and certainly the ESM should not be demonized. So I hope that the summit will improve this credit line, at least by increasing the maturity of the ESM loan to the medium or long term.
And Mr. Costancio, just staying with the BTP market, because there's a lot of focus in it this week, there is a question out there about whether or not the ECB could end up accepting junk-rated debt as collateral if we do see those credit rating downgrades potentially happening to Italy too. Is that something, given the fact that you know the ECB so well, that you see Madame Lagarde actually doing?
I cannot really predict, but I don't think it is a relevant issue to go or not to go into lower rating bonds. And by the way, that would be for private sector bonds. This is a different discussion about buying sovereign bonds, and the problem of junk bonds does not really arise. It has already been decided, for instance, to buy Greek bonds. So that is not really an issue. The ECB will continue with its very sizable program of purchases.
And now let's look into the future, because the ESM is just one part of this deal. There's another focus and another very strong debate on what the recovery fund should look like. There's many papers floating around. The latest proposal looks into perhaps perpetual bonds, a 1 to 1.5 trillion euro fund. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think there's space for a perpetual bond out there in the market?
Well, the perpetual bonds is just an element of a good proposal put forward by Spain. I would not do perpetuals. It's not necessary for the proposal. It is enough just for the Commission to issue long-term bonds, which would be quite appropriate for the purpose. The proposal goes in the same direction I suggested weeks ago on Twitter, by creating a special fund to do transfers and not loans. And that's the crucial element of the proposal. So it would be outside the EU budget, but it will use the Commission's capability to issue AAA bonds covered by a decision of all member states to increase their budget contributions. The advantage of having transfers instead of loans is that the country's debt ratios would not be impacted upfront, as the new contributions just have the same nature as the existing contributions. So it is a solution using the existing treaty and the European institutions, and formally is different from Eurobonds. It's also very important that it is a solution that treats equally all countries, and therefore shows effective solidarity, which politically it is crucial in these moments for European cohesion.
And in terms of what you just said, I think it's worth stressing that you're suggesting this should be done through transfers, not loans, because that would increase the fragmentation in the euro area, and in countries that may be seen as strong and countries that may be seen as weak for the market. In your view, how much do you worry, though, that the market may say or question the debt sustainability of countries perhaps like Italy if there isn't a sufficient plan?
Well,
Find and fund my car, from a Mini to a Jaguar.
Feel good car buying from findandfundmycar.com is the place where you can find quality used cars from trusted dealers rated by you, and where you can fund your car with finance to fit your budget. It's feel good car buying all in one place.
Shouldn't be a carry on, choose findandfundmycar.com.
The garden tools that mean you can grow your own. The fire pit that turns tea time into an alfresco dining experience. The paddling pool that turns your back garden into a water park. With a choice of ways to pay, you can make the most of family time. You can say yes when it matters most at very.co.uk. Goods and services provided by Shop Direct Home Shopping Limited. Credit provided. Subject to status by Shop Direct Finance Company Limited. 18+.
Okay, people, I've got the daily checklist. Who today has ignored a call on purpose? Tick. Talked yourself out of a workout? Tick. Spent far too long scrolling on your phone? Tick. Here's another for your list. BritBox. Streaming the BBC, ITV, Channel 5 and now Channel 4. All in one place and ad-free. So add BritBox to your list and get a 30-day free trial of the biggest box of British box sets. Search BritBox free trial. Tick. Biggest compared to other SVOD providers. Auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless cancelled. T's and C's apply.
This is a message from the government. Coronavirus is a national emergency.
life-threatening for people of all ages everywhere in the UK. To help save lives, stay home. Only go outside for food, health reasons, daily exercise or to work, but only if you cannot work from home. Stay home. Anyone can get it and anyone can spread it. Coronavirus. Stay home, protect the NHS, save lives.
Tonight, it's a Lotto triple rollover. Don't miss out. Play your numbers online or on the app today. Lotto from the National Lottery. Your numbers make amazing happen. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Stay in touch with your loved ones with great phones at great prices from Tesco Mobile. Like the incredible iPhone 7 with advanced HD front camera. Perfect for video calling. For just $13.99 a month. That's our lowest ever price. Search Tesco Mobile. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Ends 14th of June. Was £15.99. 36-month credit and rolling monthly usage agreements with Tesco Mobile required. Subject to status. Phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Well, not necessarily, but it may be because the virus may come back later again, as it has happened in 1918 with the Spanish flu. So we don't know, but nevertheless, the ECB Governing Council and the President of the ECB have said very clearly only last week that they are willing to increase the size of the program of purchase, even to change its composition by as much as necessary. So the ECB will be in a position to respond if there would be a second round of pressure on sovereign bonds.
Well, we're going to leave it at that. Vitor Gestasio, former Vice President of the European Central Bank, thank you so much for being with us, and we hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Maria.
And now that we've talked about the economics, we've talked about the macro, let's focus into the politics, because a country that is really at the focus point here is Italy. And we're now joined by Enrico Letta, who is the former Italian premier, now on the line with us. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So my first question, and again, kind of looking into the politics, but also the market action that we're seeing, those Italian yields are climbing again. There's a lot of nervousness this week around what is going to happen to Italy, what is going to happen in the summit, and whether or not we get a credit rating downgrade. Do you think, given the fact that we have all of this happening at the same time, ultimately this pushes a country closer into the ESM?
The ESM is part of the answer, but it's not the most important one. I think, and I guess that the most important part of the package is the recovery fund, because the recovery fund has a dimension and also a target that is the most important one, that is the real economy, how to tackle the recession in terms of relaunch of real economy. ESM is important, but ESM will be only on sanitary furnitures or health expenditures, and for an amount of money that is not so big. So I know that the domestic debate is very nervous in Italy on that topic because of the past, because of the discussions about the use of the ESM in the Greek case. But I would like just to say that the ESM, in my view, it is not the pillar, the heart of the discussion. The most important part tomorrow will be the recovery fund. Until now, it is an empty box. It's a good idea, but it is an empty box. It depends on how this empty box will be fulfilled, and that is the brief tomorrow afternoon.
And Giuseppe Conte was in the Senate yesterday, and it seemed to me, and I'm not sure if you agree, and I would like to get your thoughts on it, that he did soften the tone yesterday. It wasn't as binary as he's been. I'm not sure if you agree, and I would like to get your thoughts on it, that he did soften the tone yesterday. It wasn't as binary as he's been lately in terms of no to the ESM, yes to Corona bonds, and that is it. Do you think that the tone from the government is changing in the right direction, and that is ultimately a good thing?
Yes, I think you're right. It is part of a negotiating process. It is clear that until now, the position of countries like the Netherlands, for instance, their obstacle to any initiative to a common solution on the crisis oblige also the other countries to be as tough as they were. But I think what is very important is that there's a strategic option that Italy took, and the strategic option is to be together with France, Spain, Belgium, Portugal, Ireland, countries that are the large part today of the euro area, pushing for a common solution and common solution to the euro crisis. And I think Italy has to be in this alliance. Conte yesterday was, having, I think, a good position and thinking that it is important to have a comprehensive agreement tomorrow in the European Council, and to have this comprehensive agreement because we need liquidity today to tackle the crisis. And liquidity has to come from many sources, not only from one sources, from many sources, and we need all these sources.
And one of them, of course, as you mentioned, is the recovery fund. And we know the Spanish are saying this fund should be around 1.5 trillion euros. It should be funded through perpetual bonds. This is a huge amount. This is almost the size of the Italian economy. Is that, you think, the appropriate level, or actually we're going to need more than that?
I like the Spanish proposal. I think the Spanish government was very good in having this proposal, and I think it's also a very good and realistic proposal. It is not just a flag in this political negotiation. It is a realistic proposal. I think a compromise can be reached on this proposal. So I am more optimistic today than I was 2 days ago, because I see some steps. I heard also some positions from Germany interested to push this idea of a bond by the European Commission, with the guarantee of the European Commission, and also an increase of the MFF. That is the most important part of the deal. So to take opportunity of this crisis to say now we need to have an increase of the European budget, not to keep the European budget at this crazy 1% of European GDP. That is not enough for the ambitions of the European Union. So that means that the European Union can be stronger after this crisis and with more tools. That is a good lesson that we can take from previous crises, when at the end of the day we had 4 years, from 8 to 12, to get new tools. But these new tools in the previous crisis were decisive. Whatever it takes, ESM created and established all in 12 after 4 years. This time, I have to say, the European Union reacted rapidly, and after 4 weeks, the European Union did more than 4 years from 8 to 12. I think it's a good track for the moment.
And let's say on Friday we do have a deal, there's something on paper. The other side to this equation is Conte being able to sell this to Italians. Italian politics right now look very, very, very messy. There's a lot of nerves because of that. Do you worry perhaps that we're not going to see a majority for anything? There's no coalition of the positive. People cannot come around an idea, and ultimately we head into a government crisis?
I think the situation is a dramatic one, and I'm sure that the political debate in Italy and political parties will take their own responsibilities. I know there's also some part of the opposition today thinking to help and support a European agreement. That is what Forza Italia is thinking to do. So I am quite confident that at the end of the day, responsibility will win.
So would you say that at this point, given everything that's happening, the worst thing that could happen is to have another government crisis? An election is not going to solve this.
I don't think that we can. It would be crazy to have in this very moment, when you have still 400 deaths every day, to have a political crisis. Now we need resilience of the system. I think we have to start from the great responsibility that the Italian people showed. The Italians are always blamed because we are not people good in applying rules, obeying rules, and I think in this opportunity, this very dramatic occasion, we showed that there's a possibility for Italians to show responsibility, to be reliant, to be accountable, and the way in which the Italian people reacted to the crisis, I think it's a great asset, it's a treasure, and I hope leaders and politicians will take this as an asset for the future too.
And just very quickly, Mr. Letta, very, very quickly, do you worry that an exit from the European Union is now more likely than it was 2 months ago?
No, I don't think so. I know that some populist leaders are playing the scapegoat game as usual against Europe, but there's no alternative. What is the alternative? To be alone? The alternative is to be with the Russians or with who? So I think it is a part of the political game.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Enrico Letta, former Prime Minister of Italy. Before that, also ECB Vice President Victor Costanzo joining us on the phone too. And this is it for the Brussels edition. I'm Maria Tadeo. Caroline.
Thank you so much. A great listen, and some really good questions about the future of Europe dealing with the coronavirus lockdown. So thank you so much for that special edition live from Brussels. Hope to get many more of those top European voices for our listeners here on Bloomberg Radio. But coming up next, we've got another great interview with Patrick Armstrong, the CIO at Plurimi Wealth. He will be joining us next. He's betting on healthcare and tech stocks these days. I've heard that from many investors, so I'm going to dig a bit deeper with Patrick Armstrong coming up next, and Matt Miller on the programme. You're listening to Bloomberg Daybreak Europe, live from London, Berlin and Brussels today. This is Bloomberg.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You ace vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesman to the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Inovalon is a leading provider of cloud-based platforms empowering data-driven healthcare. Leveraging deep connectivity, the data of billions of medical events, and advanced analytics, Inovalon empowers the achievement of improved clinical outcomes and financial performance for thousands of health insurance companies, hospitals, doctors, pharmacies, and pharmaceutical companies, and the millions of patients they serve every day. Inovalon. Data has a story to tell. We give it a voice. Learn more at Inovalon.com.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of your religion, or your race, or because you have children, or a disability.
It's so wrong. Yes, but who has the power to stop this?
You do. Each of us has the power. The law is on your side. It's illegal for landlords to discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status. If you suspect that you have experienced housing discrimination, file a complaint with HUD immediately so we can investigate it. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
To learn more, visit HUD.gov/fairhousing. That's HUD.gov/fairhousing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Why?
Oh, just there, Dave. Smashing. Great. Really? Night, Steve. Yeah, see ya. Built to take the big knocks. Samsung rugged devices. Easy to use, hard to break. Explore the Samsung rugged range.
Okay, people, I've got the daily checklist. Who today has eaten dinner for breakfast? Tick. Started a chore you'll never finish? Tick. Done a conference call in your pajamas? Tick. Here's another for your list. BritBox. Streaming the BBC, ITV, Channel 5 and now Channel 4. All in one place and ad-free. So add BritBox to your list and get a 30-day free trial of the biggest box of British box sets. Search BritBox free trial. Tick. Biggest compared to other SVOD providers. Auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless cancelled. T's and C's apply.
This is a message from the government. Coronavirus is a national emergency. Life-threatening for people of all ages everywhere in the UK. To help save lives, stay home. Only go outside for food, health reasons, daily exercise or to work, but only if you cannot work from home. Stay home. Anyone can get it and anyone can spread it. Coronavirus. Stay home, protect the NHS, save lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to national lottery players, communities across the country are about to benefit from up to £300 million of funding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Money that will help support the most vulnerable in these exceptional times.
Thank you. Thank you.
Food banks, local health organisations, charities combating loneliness, and thousands of other community causes will all get vital resources.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's all thanks to you, playing the National Lottery. Your numbers make amazing happen.
They say singing can help you remember things, so here's some tips for parents out there during these tough times.
Number 1.
Make sure your kids wash their hands for 20 seconds after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside.
2.
Virtual play dates, social and physical distancing can help save lives.
3.
Tell them they're safe and show your love and pride. Yes, we'll get through this together. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Wondering what to play next? Want to know what other TuneIn listeners are listening to right now? Head to the trending section under Browse to explore the most popular stations and podcasts on TuneIn today. Millions of listeners like you can't be wrong.
Want to know a great way to discover the latest and greatest sports audio on TuneIn? It's easy. Just make sure push notifications are enabled on your phone to receive recommendations of sports talk radio and podcasts, along with important breaking news updates.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
I'm Mel Kiper Jr., and to get you ready for the NFL Draft, you can listen to my podcast, First Draft, as Todd McShay, Chris Sproul, and I highlight all the top picks and give you the analysis you need leading up to the draft. Just search ESPN Radio today.
In case you didn't know, TuneIn lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio, except you can hear them from anywhere. If you want to find a station from somewhere else in the world, navigate to the By Location section under Browse. Keep exploring with TuneIn.
Markets, headlines and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app and on QuickTake by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Good morning from Bloomberg's World Headquarters in New York City. I'm Anne-Marie Horder with this Bloomberg Radio Business Flash. European equities in the green this morning. The FTSE 100 up nearly 1.5%. The DAX as well up more than 1% this morning. We are seeing a lot of bids out there higher for the technology and telecom sector. Over on this side of the Atlantic, the S&P 500 mini futures up 1.2% comes after the S&P 500 closed down 3% yesterday. We are still seeing a lot of panic and a lot of selling in the oil market. Brent crude is trading at $17.31 this morning. That's down 10%. And WTI crude trading just under $11 this morning. Pierre Onderon, renowned oil trader, said to me yesterday, it's dangerous right now to be trading in this oil market. In the FX market, euro dollar is flat, 108 against euro against the US dollar. We also have a little bit higher of the US dollar against the yen. We are seeing relatively a softer US dollar in the Bloomberg Dollar Index this morning. And a quick check on what's going on with yield. We saw some fluctuation below 0.6% right now. That yield 0.58% on the 10-year Treasury yield. That's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Now here's Leanne Garens with more what's going on around the world. Good morning, Leanne.
Good morning, Anne-Marie, and thank you. President Donald Trump says he will suspend illegal immigration to the U.S. for at least 2 months. That's to help Americans put out of work because of the coronavirus crisis. The president said it would be wrong and unjust for Americans to be replaced in the workforce by new immigrant labor. The pause will be in effect for 6 60 days and only apply to those seeking permanent residency. Now, the UK government is set for its first major political test of the pandemic. A virtual parliament will see ministers questioned via video conference, with most MPs taking part remotely. With the Prime Minister still out of action, Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab will be in the chamber itself, joined by Labour Party leader Keir Starmer. And Munich's famed Oktoberfest Folk and Beer Festival has been cancelled for the first time since World War II. It's the latest major event to fall victim of the coronavirus outbreak and a blow to the Bavarian capital's economy. Germany has banned large public gatherings until at least the end of August. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Leanne Gerrans. This is Bloomberg. Matt.
Leanne, thank you very much for that.
I wasn't sure who to go to, so just thought I'd say it quietly in the hope of getting it right.
But yes, you always get it right. Leanne Gerrans there with your global news headlines. Let's get over now to Nathan Hager. He's in the U.S. preparing for Bloomberg Daybreak. Nathan, what have you got ahead for us on this? Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday, right?
Yeah, you have to check every day, don't you, just to make sure. But yes, it is indeed Wednesday. Good morning, Matt. The cratering demand picture for oil continues to be a major focus for investors. Just looking at the screen this morning, now that the May contract is behind us and those negative numbers, still at historic lows in the U.S. and international markets on the front end of crude futures. We're going to talk about what it all means for the broader market with Andrew Sheets of Morgan Stanley. He's going to be with us this morning. Also looking at earnings, specifically Netflix, a literal captive audience. Sure seems to have paid off for the streaming service with eye-popping numbers. Now the question is, can Netflix maintain that momentum once the pandemic is over? And since it is Wednesday, we do have our weekly check-in with Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health immunologist Andy Pecos. We're going to talk about coronavirus testing, where we are on that crucial front as more states here in the U.S. look at ways to reopen their economies. All that's coming up with me and Karen Moscow. Hope you join us for it on Bloomberg Daybreak on this Wednesday.
Indeed, looking forward to it. Nathan, thanks very much. Nathan Hager there. Coming up with Karen Moscow, if you're listening on Sirius XM, channel 119. If you're tuned in on London DAB digital radio, you will hear Bloomberg Surveillance.
Okay, let's talk about stocks this morning. So we're gaining a foothold certainly in Europe after Wall Street's worst session in 3 weeks yesterday, a big slump also in European equities. Investors are weighing this continued volatility in the oil market and some fresh earnings like Netflix that Nathan just mentioned, also the pharma giants Roche and Akzo Nobel in Europe this morning. So let's bring in our guest, Patrick Armstrong, CIO at Plurimi Wealth. Patrick, you're pretty bullish on tech and healthcare. That's a call that I've heard from a number of people, but still this earnings season, the numbers are very difficult to gauge given how far and how fast we have moved in the space of a few months. So thoughts about earnings right now? We're still too positive, basically. Is that it?
Analysts are still too positive, or there's a lot of stale prices that analysts just haven't updated their estimates until they hear the quarterly call from companies. I think it's probably a bit of both of those. But it's hard to see how S&P 500 is only going to see earnings fall by about less than 10% this year. So estimates have been cut by about 18% from where they were at the start of the year, but coming into the year, analysts were forecasting almost 12% growth. So they're getting to something close to reality, but I think by the time we get through this year, I think estimates will probably need to fall 50% before it's done. So I think there's still a lot of cutting to happen. And for me, that's why I like the healthcare and the tech companies. Those are the sectors that obviously won't necessitate a lot of cut. And I think I'll get more bullish on indebted companies, cyclical and value companies once those cuts are reflected in the consensus and that negative sort of Damocles isn't hanging over those kind of companies.
So, but you think there will be throughout the year places to get into those kind of companies? I mean, 2021 earnings is what it's all about for them, right? I mean, 2020 is pretty much a write-off.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair take, that most investors, you can't be shocked by something negative right now. So you're getting a bit of a free pass, and companies will throw the kitchen sink and write off everything they can right now, knowing that investors will not be surprised by that. So that might set the scene for a recovery in 2021. And I think this probably will be the beginning of a regime change in terms of growth and value at some point, that the value companies that are now looking like they're trading at 6 and 7 times earnings, those aren't realistic earnings, but we'll get to the point where there is a realistic earnings that you can trade off of, and those will be 2021 numbers. The guidance that we're going to get from companies in the coming weeks, though, is that they have no idea how bad things are going to get, because no one's got a working crystal ball, and companies aren't any better positioned than anyone else, because this is unknown, it's unprecedented. It's hard to see where the demand quickly comes back. And a month ago, I was more bullish on a V-shaped recovery, and now it's pretty clear to me we're not going to get that V-shaped recovery. So a month ago, I was talking about this fiscal stimulus, monetary stimulus, low oil prices, going to push demand up. But things like the Munich beer festival, Oktoberfest, being canceled, it just shows this isn't going to be a short-term hit, that millions of people into Munich aren't going to come. There's billions of revenue lost and things like that. So I'm not as bullish on the sharp recovery as I was. I still think we get that sharpish recovery, but it's probably a little further out than I was hoping for a month ago.
How worried are you then about kind of second, third waves of the coronavirus? Because that's what I've heard some of our other guests sort of look to and point to, that the big unknown is the kind of health issue going forwards. Is that your key concern too then?
That's definitely a wild card. No one knows. So a month ago we were talking about potential for herd immunity. Now there's a question, do you even get immunity? Can you get it a second time? And once we get through the summer period, is there influenza season happening at the same time as an uptick in COVID-19 again? Definitely unknowns, definitely potential headwinds that are completely realistic. And that's one of the reasons I'm not as bullish as I was. I think stocks were cheaper a month ago. They've gone up, and I think the outlook for me has changed and gotten a little worse over the last month, my expectations.
Let me ask you about something weird. I'll throw you a curveball here. Well, it was weird, but now people are talking about it so much that it may be normal again. What do you think about perpetual bonds? It's something that previously, I'd only read about. Apparently, Yale has one from a Dutch water company that's been around for 372 years, and they collect about 100 euros of interest a decade. But Spain is talking about this as a possibility to fund recovery money. What do you think about that? Do you think investors would have an appetite for something like perpetual debt?
I don't know who will have it. It's a good way to get your duration, I guess. And we are going to get into things that we've never seen before. So MMT was talked about as a radical proposition. It's becoming more mainstream. We've got helicopter money potentially coming, $1,200 to every U.S. citizen. It's happened already. It's not a stretch to see how the Fed gets from just buying bonds to just basically printing money that doesn't have to be paid back with debt. United Kingdom is doing that already, so the Bank of England is just supplying the government money rather than the government issuing gilt. Eventually they'll issue gilts to cover that, but there's going to be mechanisms, maybe even we'll get into something which is completely bizarre, a zero coupon perpetual, which is essentially just printing money where you never have to pay any coupon and never pay it back, and it's just a bookkeeping entry for a state or a nation to finance its books.
Yeah, interesting, because of course the Bank of England and the government have kind of denied that it's helicopter money in the UK. That's a whole nother debate, though. We shan't go there. Thank you so much, Patrick Armstrong, for joining us, CIO at Plurimi Wealth. Really great to get your view. Yeah, so much more pessimistic than he was a month ago.
Christine Lagarde today said the governing council has never even discussed helicopter money.
Yes, insisting that they
You would think that a group of intellectuals, who read the news... would, at least when they're sitting by the fireplace having a glass of brandy, would at least bring it up, with open minds. But I guess they haven't even talked about it. It hasn't even been mentioned. Anyway, surveillance is up next. If you're in the U.S., you'll hear Daybreak. This is Bloomberg.
Okay, people, I've got the daily checklist. Who today has ignored a call on purpose? Tick. Talked yourself out of a workout? Tick. Spent far too long scrolling on your phone? Tick. Here's another for your list. BritBox. streaming the BBC, ITV, Channel 5 and now Channel 4, all in one place and ad-free. So add BritBox to your list and get a 30-day free trial of the biggest box of British box sets. Search BritBox free trial. Tick. Biggest compared to other SVOD providers. Auto renews at $5.99 a month unless cancelled. T's and C's apply.
From cafes by the sea to restaurants in the city, at Starling Bank, we'll help you keep your business flying high. With flexible overdrafts of up to £150,000, we'll get your cash flow running smoothly. Your business is ready for takeoff. Starling Bank, helping business fly.
This is a message from the government. Coronavirus is a national emergency, life-threatening for people of all ages everywhere in the UK. To help save lives, stay home. Only go outside for food, health reasons, daily exercise or to work, but only if you cannot work from home. Stay home. Anyone can get it and anyone can spread it. Coronavirus. Stay home, protect the NHS, save lives.
Middle of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio.
Live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studios, this is Bloomberg Daybreak for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020. Coming up this hour.
The oil rout deepens as Brent crude hits a 2-decade low.
The Senate approves nearly $500 billion for small business.
The coronavirus outbreak eases in parts of the country and picks up in others.
And with Americans at home, Netflix reports the strongest growth in its history.
New York Governor Cuomo plans a regional reopening and eases an elective surgery ban, plus a Senate panel backs spy agencies on Russia's preference for Donald Trump. I'm Michael Barr. More ahead.
I'm John Stashower in sports. Rob Gronkowski coming out of retirement to be reunited with Tom Brady at Tampa Bay. Alex Rodriguez wants to own the Mets.
That's all straight ahead on Bloomberg Daybreak. On Bloomberg 1130 New York, Bloomberg 99.1 Washington, D.C., Bloomberg 106.1 Boston, Bloomberg 960 San Francisco, Sirius XM 119, and around the world on BloombergRadio.com and via the Bloomberg Business app.
Good morning, I'm Karen Moscow.
And I'm Nathan Hager. Bloomberg Daybreak brought to you by BNY Mellon's Pershing. Learn why the world's most sophisticated advisory firms and broker-dealers rely on Pershing to help them improve profitability, create efficiency, attract talent, and manage risk at Pershing.com.
U.S. futures rebounding from yesterday's losses. 5:01 on Wall Street, and we check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day on Bloomberg. S&P futures up 42 points. Dow futures up 322. NASDAQ futures up 120. The DAX in Germany's up 1.6%. CAC in Paris up 1.2%. And the FTSE 100 is up 1.7%. Nikkei 225 in Japan fell 0.7%, while the Hang Seng in Hong Kong was up 0.4%. 10-year Treasury down 4/32, yield 0.58%. Yield on the 2-year